The grand wedding hall falls silent as a woman in a crimson-red dress walks down the aisle. But she's not the bride. Her name is Zara Williams, a 28-year-old black woman who has absolutely no business being here. Every head turns, confusion rippling through the crowd of Korea's most elite and dangerous families. At the altar stands Kang Ji-woo, the ruthlessly cold leader of Seoul's most powerful crime syndicate, dressed in an immaculate white tuxedo. His dark eyes narrow as he recognizes her, the woman from the hotel elevator just 2 nights ago. Zara's heart pounds as she reaches him. She knows this is insane. She knows she's about to ruin everything. But when her eyes catch the glint of metal under a guest's jacket, when she sees the smirk on the bride's face that says this wedding is nothing but a trap, something inside her snaps. Without thinking, without planning, Zara grabs the groom's face and kisses him. Hard. Desperately. Right in front of 300 witnesses. The room erupts in chaos. But what shocks everyone more is when Ji-woo's hand grips her waist and he kisses her back. What Zara doesn't know is that her impulsive decision didn't just stop a wedding. It stopped a murder. But how did a simple delivery job turn into kissing Seoul's most dangerous man? And why did he look at her like she just saved his life? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story is about to get absolutely wild. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. To understand how Zara Williams ended up crashing a mafia wedding, we need to rewind 3 days. Zara had moved to Seoul 3 years ago, working as a cultural liaison for international businesses. The pay was decent, the city was exciting, but her mother's mounting medical bills back in Atlanta were drowning her. So when her boss, Mr. Choi, offered her 5 million won, nearly $4,000, just to deliver a package to the Park family before Saturday, she didn't ask questions. She couldn't afford to. Friday night, Zara arrived at the luxury hotel where the Parks were supposedly staying. The documents felt heavier than they should as she rode the elevator to the penthouse floor. But when the doors opened, 2 men in black suits immediately grabbed her, slamming her against the wall. Her scream died in her throat as a voice cut through the tension, smooth and cold as winter. The guards released her instantly, and that's when she saw him for the first time. Kang Ji-woo emerged from the shadows of his suite, a glass of whiskey in his hand, looking nothing like a man who was getting married in less than 24 hours. There was something hollow in his eyes, something that made Zara's chest tighten with unexpected sympathy. He told her she had the wrong floor. The Parks were 2 levels down. But as their eyes met and held for a moment too long, Zara noticed the wedding invitation on his table. She congratulated him, trying to break the strange tension. His response chilled her. He told her not to congratulate him yet, as if he knew something terrible was coming. Zara left, but she couldn't shake the sadness she'd seen in his face. The next day, everything fell apart. The Parks wouldn't answer her calls. Security wouldn't let her into the wedding venue. Mr. Choi called, frantic, warning her that if she didn't deliver those documents by 3 p.m., the people who wanted them would come for her. The way he said it made her blood run cold. This wasn't about late fees. This was about survival. Desperate, Zara stole a catering uniform and snuck into the venue. She needed to find the Parks, deliver the package, and get out. But as she searched the private rooms, she heard voices. One of them was familiar, the bride. Zara peeked through a crack in the door and her entire world tilted. Min So-yeon, the beautiful bride in her pre-wedding dress, was locked in a passionate kiss with another man. Park Young-hoon. The son of the family Zara had been trying to reach. What she heard next made her forget about documents, about money, about everything. So-yeon laughed as she told Young-hoon their plan: marry Ji-woo, gain access to his empire, and eliminate him within 2 years. Young-hoon asked what would happen if Ji-woo discovered the truth. So-yeon's response was venomous. She said Ji-woo was too cold, too detached to even suspect. This marriage was just a business merger to him. He didn't love her, which made him the perfect target. Zara gasped, the sound too loud in the quiet hallway. So-yeon's head snapped toward the door, her eyes sharp with suspicion. Someone was listening. Zara ran. Her hands shook as she stumbled through the corridor, her mind racing. She should leave. This wasn't her business. These were dangerous people playing deadly games, and she was just a woman trying to pay her mother's hospital bills. But that image of Jiwoo's sad eyes wouldn't leave her mind. The ceremony began with all the elegance and grandeur expected of Korea's criminal elite. Zara watched from the very back, hidden among the servers, telling herself she would just observe. Just make sure. Then she'd leave. Jiwoo stood at the altar looking like a king carved from ice. Expressionless. Unreachable. Soyeon walked down the aisle like an angel, all innocence and beauty, and Zara felt sick knowing the viper that lurked beneath. When the priest asked if anyone objected, Zara's fingernails dug into her palms. Every instinct screamed at her to stay silent. But then she saw him. Park Young-hoon, sitting in the third row with a barely concealed smirk on his face. And there, just visible under his perfectly tailored jacket, was the unmistakable outline of a gun. In that crystalline moment, Zara understood. They weren't going to wait 2 years. They were going to kill Jiwoo today, at his own wedding, in front of everyone. It would look like a rival gang's attack. Soyeon would play the devastated widow and inherit everything. Zara's feet moved before her brain caught up. She walked down that aisle in her stolen catering uniform and red dress underneath, every eye turning to stare at this black woman who had no place in this world of Korean crime families. Jiwoo's eyes widened in recognition. He clearly remembered her from the hotel. Confusion flickered across his usually impassive face as he said one word, "You." Zara's voice rang out clear and strong. She objected. The room erupted in whispers. Soyeon's face twisted with rage as she demanded security remove this woman. Guards began moving toward Zara. She saw Young-hoon's hand slide toward his jacket. Without thinking, without planning, Zara closed the distance between her and Jiwoo and kissed him. But in that moment when her lips met his, she whispered 4 words that changed everything: gun. 3 o'clock. Blue tie. She felt Jiwoo's entire body go rigid. His eyes snapped to Young-hoon, and years of surviving in the criminal underworld meant he saw it immediately. The weapon. The threat. The betrayal. What happened next shocked Zara to her core. Instead of pushing her away, Jiwoo's hand wrapped around her waist and he kissed her back. Deeply. Possessively. His other hand gestured sharply to his men. The room exploded into chaos as Jiwoo's guards descended on Young-hoon. They found the gun within seconds. The gasps that rippled through the crowd turned from scandal to shock. Someone had brought a weapon to Kang Jiwoo's wedding. That was a death sentence. Young-hoon tried to explain, stammering excuses, but Jiwoo's voice cut through the noise like a blade. He asked Young-hoon if he could also explain why he was in a private room with the bride an hour ago. The color drained from Soyeon's face. She tried to speak, to spin some lie, but Jiwoo silenced her with a single look. His voice was colder than Zara had ever heard as he announced the wedding was cancelled. Everyone needed to leave. Now. No one argued with Kang Jiwoo. The hall emptied in minutes, guests fleeing from what was clearly about to become a bloodbath. Zara tried to slip away in the confusion, her job done, her conscience clear. But Jiwoo's voice stopped her dead. He told her to stay. It wasn't a request. Oh, we're just getting started. If you're loving this story, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribe to our channel. Comment red dress energy if you would have done the same thing because honestly, Zara is iconic. Now let's see what happens when she's alone with the man she just saved. In a private room away from the chaos, Jiwoo stood in front of Zara with an expression she couldn't quite read. He demanded an explanation. Everything. Now. Zara's words tumbled out in a rush. She explained about the documents, about seeing his bride plotting murder, about the gun. She'd panicked. She just reacted. Jiwoo asked why she didn't simply tell him. Zara nearly laughed. Did he really think she could just walk up to a mafia boss and announce his bride was planning to kill him? That seemed like a great way to get herself killed for being delusional. Something unexpected happened then. Ji-woo laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rusty, like he hadn't used it in years. His men, standing guard by the door, looked absolutely stunned. He asked her name. When she told him, he repeated it slowly, like he was testing how it felt. Then his expression turned serious again. He explained that she'd just made very powerful enemies. The Park family wouldn't let this humiliation go. They would come for her. Zara's heart sank as she muttered that this was just the story of her life. Ji-woo told her he was assigning her protection. When she protested, he made it clear it wasn't a request. He stepped closer, and Zara felt the air between them charged with that same strange electricity from the elevator. He asked about the kiss, whether it was part of her plan or something else. Zara's defenses flew up immediately. It was purely tactical, she insisted. A distraction. Nothing more. Ji-woo's lips curved into the smallest smirk as he pointed out that she'd been very thorough in her distraction. Zara fired back that he'd kissed her back. His response was maddeningly calm, that was also tactical. They stood inches apart, both clearly lying, both knowing it. Finally, Zara whispered that he was welcome. For saving his life. Ji-woo's voice dropped low as he thanked her, and the sincerity in those two words made her chest tighten. Then he was all business again, informing her she'd stay at his safe house while his men collected her belongings. Zara protested. She had a life, a job, responsibilities. Ji-woo's response was blunt and terrifying, not anymore. Welcome to my world, Zara Williams. The safe house turned out to be a luxury penthouse that probably cost more than Zara would make in 10 years. She immediately called her best friend Keisha back in Atlanta, desperately needing to process what had just happened. She'd kissed a Mafia boss at his own wedding, and now she was basically his prisoner. Keisha's first question was whether he was cute. Zara wanted to be annoyed, but she couldn't lie. Yes, he was infuriatingly attractive. Keisha told her to enjoy it, she was living a whole K-drama fantasy. That's when Ji-woo walked in without knocking. Zara quickly ended the call, muttering that Satan had just arrived. Their argument about privacy was interrupted when Ji-woo tossed a folder onto the table. Inside were the documents Zara had been trying to deliver. Her confusion must have shown because he explained everything. Those documents were his business files that belonged to his organization. The Parks had been intercepting them, using Mr. Choi as a middleman. Zara had been set up from the beginning. She was a pawn, a test of his security before they made their move at the wedding. Everything had been planned. Zara sank into a chair, the weight of it crushing her. She was completely screwed. Ji-woo agreed with brutal honesty. Yes, she was. Unless she worked for him. Zara's head snapped up. Doing what? She wasn't a criminal. She couldn't be part of his world. What Ji-woo proposed was insane. He needed a fake fiancée. Someone the Parks didn't know, someone smart and brave enough to kiss a stranger to save his life. If he appeared publicly with her, the woman who stopped his wedding, it would show he'd been in control all along. That the Parks never had the upper hand. Zara told him he was absolutely insane. But Ji-woo had clearly done his homework. 6 months of public appearances in exchange for paying her mother's medical bills, clearing all her debts, and guaranteeing her safety. Zara's blood turned cold. How did he know about her mother? Ji-woo's response was matter-of-fact. He knew everything about her now. He'd had her investigated because anyone who kissed him was automatically dangerous. Zara exploded in anger. She'd saved him. How dare he investigate her like some criminal? But Ji-woo's response cut through her rage. He was trying to save her now. The Parks would come for her. But as his woman, she'd be untouchable. Zara insisted she wasn't his anything. Ji-woo's voice dropped to something almost gentle as he told her the truth, then she was a dead woman walking. The silence that followed was heavy with reality. Zara asked quietly if it would really be just 6 months. He confirmed. She added one condition, no kissing. Jiwoo's smirk returned, they'd need to kiss for appearances. Fine, Zara conceded. Professional kissing only. When Jiwoo extended his hand for a deal, Zara stared at it. This was crazy. Dangerous. Impossible. But what choice did she have? She shook his hand, and the moment their skin touched, that spark reignited. They both felt it. Neither acknowledged it. Over the next 3 weeks, Zara and Jiwoo became Seoul's most talked about couple. They appeared at galas, charity events, and exclusive restaurants. Cameras flashed constantly. Zara wore designer dresses that cost more than her rent. Jiwoo's hand was always at her waist, possessive and protective. To the world, they were perfect together. Behind closed doors, they bickered constantly. Their biggest fight came over a Versace dress Jiwoo wanted her to wear to an upcoming event. Zara refused, saying it was basically transparent lingerie. Jiwoo, not even looking up from his paperwork, said it was beautiful. Actually, what he said was that she'd look beautiful in it, though he quickly corrected himself to say the dress was beautiful. But Zara had heard it. She'd seen his ears turn red. And for the first time, she smiled with genuine warmth. She agreed to wear the dress, then added as she left that he'd looked really handsome at the last gala. After she was gone, Jiwoo's pen snapped in half in his grip. His right-hand man, Min Jun, walked in and had the audacity to point out that he'd never seen his boss blush before. Jiwoo ordered him out, but Min Jun was laughing. The night of the gala, Zara wore the dress. When Jiwoo saw her, his whiskey glass stopped halfway to his mouth. He couldn't form words. Finally, he managed to say she wore it. Zara asked nervously if it was too much. Jiwoo's quiet response, not enough, sent shivers down her spine. At the gala, they were the center of attention. So-yeon was there, her eyes burning with hatred. She approached Zara with poisonous sweetness, asking if she was enjoying her leftovers. Zara's response was legendary. She told So-yeon that leftovers implied she got scraps. But no, Zara got the whole meal. So-yeon just had reservations that got cancelled. Jiwoo actually choked on his drink. Min Jun, watching from nearby, cackled with delight. So-yeon hissed that this wasn't over. Zara smiled sweetly and told her it never even started. After So-yeon stormed off, Jiwoo looked at Zara with something like awe. He called her savage. She grinned and explained she had sisters, she was trained for warfare. He laughed, that real genuine laugh that made people stare because Kang Jiwoo never laughed. Then he asked her to dance. Not requested. Commanded. Zara pointed out it wasn't phrased as a question. Jiwoo agreed. No, it wasn't. On the dance floor, they fit together perfectly. His hand on her waist, hers on his shoulder, swaying to music neither was really hearing. Zara whispered that people were watching. Jiwoo told her to let them. She asked if this was just for show. He confirmed it was. Then why, she started to ask, did it feel so real? He finished her thought. Real. Yes. That's exactly what it felt like. They'd stopped dancing, just swaying in place, lost in each other's eyes. Zara whispered that this was dangerous. Jiwoo whispered back that he knew. He started to lean in, and Zara's heart hammered in her chest. Then gunshots shattered the moment. Glass exploded. People screamed. The gala descended into chaos. Jiwoo immediately threw himself over Zara, shielding her body with his as bullets flew. She screamed, asking what was happening. His response was grim, the Parks. This was their retaliation. More gunfire erupted around them. They were pinned down behind an overturned table. Jiwoo barked orders to Min Jun in Korean, telling him to get Zara out. But Zara, in perfect Korean, told them she wasn't leaving him. Jiwoo's shock was visible. She spoke Korean? Zara explained she'd lived in Seoul for 3 years and she wasn't useless. To prove her point, she grabbed a champagne bottle and hurled it at an approaching gunman. Direct hit. The man went down. Ji-woo stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Who was she? Zara grinned fiercely. A woman with 3 older brothers who taught her how to fight. Now move. They fought their way out together, a team in perfect sync. But when they finally reached the car, Zara saw blood spreading across Ji-woo's shoulder. He'd been shot. She cried out that he was hit. He tried to dismiss it as nothing, but Zara wasn't having it. It absolutely was not nothing. In the back seat of the speeding car, Zara tore the bottom of her expensive dress to make a bandage. Her hands shook violently as tears streamed down her face. He could have died. He'd almost died protecting her. Ji-woo cupped her face gently, forcing her to look at him. He was okay. He was right here. But Zara couldn't stop the panic. This was insane. She couldn't do this. She couldn't live in a world where people she cared about got shot. Ji-woo made her look at him again. His voice was firm and absolutely certain as he promised he wouldn't let anything happen to her. Zara told him he couldn't promise that. No one could. But Ji-woo had just made that exact promise. And he meant it. Then he kissed her. Not for show. Not for cameras. This kiss was real, desperate, 2 people who'd just faced death and needed to feel alive. Zara kissed him back with everything she had, pouring all her fear and relief into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zara pointed out that kiss wasn't professional. Ji-woo agreed. No, it wasn't. She reminded him they had an agreement. He said he knew exactly what they'd agreed to. So what now? Zara asked. Ji-woo pressed his forehead to hers and whispered that now, he was going to break every rule he'd ever made. Back at the safe house, Zara carefully cleaned and properly bandaged Ji-woo's shoulder wound. The intimacy of the moment wrapped around them like a blanket. Finally, Zara asked the question she'd been wondering. Why was he really marrying So-yeon? Ji-woo was quiet for a long time. Then he explained that his father had arranged the marriage before he died. It was a merger between families. Ji-woo thought he was honoring his father's final wishes. Zara asked if he loved So-yeon. His answer was devastating. Love was a luxury in his world. Zara told him that was incredibly sad. Ji-woo said it was just reality. But Zara caught something important. He'd said, was marrying, past tense. It was over now. He was free. Ji-woo looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Was he free? Zara asked what he meant. Weren't free people allowed to make their own choices? He took her hand, the one that had been bandaging him. He confessed that he hadn't felt free in 10 years. Not since he'd taken over his father's empire at 22. But when she kissed him at that wedding, for the first time in a decade, he felt something. Choice. Like maybe he could choose something for himself instead of just carrying out duty and obligation. Zara's voice was barely a whisper. What did he choose? Ji-woo pulled her closer, his eyes searching hers. He said he was still deciding. Zara started to respond, probably something sarcastic to break the tension, but he cut her off with a kiss. This one was slow, deep, deliberate. A decision being made in real time. When they broke apart, Ji-woo's voice was certain. Decided. Zara, breathless, told him she felt the same way. They smiled at each other, really smiled, for the first time without pretense. But then Zara pulled back. She announced she was going to her own room. Ji-woo asked why, clearly not wanting her to leave. Zara's response made his heart skip. Because he was going to earn this. Earn her. She wasn't just another thing for him to acquire or control. Ji-woo looked at her with something like wonder. Noted, he said. Zara pointed out he was bleeding again. He said it was worth it. 2 months passed. And something miraculous happened. They were happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Zara made Ji-woo laugh multiple times a day. He made her feel safer than she'd ever felt in her life. His men adored her because she cooked them soul food that reminded them what real flavor tasted like. She started learning about his businesses, the legitimate ones he was slowly transitioning to. They were becoming a real team. But happiness in the Mafia world is always temporary. Min-jun came to Ji-woo's office one afternoon, his expression troubled. He had a problem, he said, and showed his boss security footage. Zara, meeting someone in secret. Multiple times. Passing documents. Ji-woo asked when this was. Last week, Min-jun confirmed. Then he showed more footage. More secret meetings. His voice was reluctant as he suggested what they were both thinking. Zara might be working with the Parks. Ji-woo's voice went deadly quiet as he ordered Min-jun out. When his second refused, trying to discuss it further, Ji-woo roared at him to get out. Alone, Ji-woo stared at the footage of the woman he loved betraying him. His fist slammed into the desk hard enough to crack the wood. That evening, Zara walked into Ji-woo's office with a bright smile. She'd made dinner, his favorite. But she froze when she saw his face. Ice cold. Completely shut down. She asked what was wrong. He threw the photos on the desk. Her secret meetings captured in perfect clarity. Ji-woo's accusation hit her like a slap. She was working with the Parks. Zara's confusion was absolute. What? No. She would never betray him. But Ji-woo pointed at the evidence. It was right there in front of them. Zara insisted the evidence was wrong. He knew her. He knew she'd never do this. Ji-woo stood, his voice rising. Did he know her? They'd met 3 months ago when she crashed his wedding. For all he knew, that had been part of the plan all along. The hurt in Zara's eyes was devastating. He couldn't mean that. But the words kept coming, poison spilling from old wounds. Was any of it real? Or was he just another job, another mark? Zara's tears started falling. How could he even ask her that? Ji-woo's voice cracked with pain and fury. Because everyone he'd ever trusted had betrayed him. His business partners, his allies, even his own brother who'd sold him out to a rival gang. Why would she be different? Silence fell, heavy and horrible. Zara was crying openly now. Then she said it. The words that changed everything. She loved him, she said. That's why she was different. She was in love with him, you idiot. Ji-woo froze completely. Zara kept going, words tumbling out between sobs. She'd fallen in love with him somewhere between his terrible dad jokes and the way he secretly fed stray cats when he thought no one was watching. She loved how he pretended to be cold but had anonymously paid off her mother's hospital bills 2 weeks ago. She loved. Ji-woo told her to stop. But Zara refused. She explained everything. She'd been meeting with an FBI agent. Her older brother, Marcus. He'd been trying to convince her to leave Ji-woo, to testify against him, to enter witness protection. And she'd refused every single time because she loved him. She threw documents at him. Proof. FBI credentials. Her brother's badge. That's what he saw in those security photos, she said. Her protecting him. Again. Ji-woo stared at the evidence, then at Zara. The realization of what he'd done crashed over him like a wave. He started to say her name, but she cut him off. No. He didn't get to do this. He'd thrown away everything they'd built because he couldn't trust anyone. Every time something went wrong, he'd push everyone away. I'm scared, Ji-woo's voice broke. Of what? Zara shouted back. And Ji-woo finally broke open. Of this, he said. Of loving you so much that losing you would destroy me completely. His voice cracked as he continued. Everyone he'd ever loved had left. His mother abandoned the family when he was 8. His father died in his arms. His brother betrayed him. Everyone. And then Zara walked into his life and made him feel again, and it was terrifying because if she left, he didn't know how he'd survive it. Zara was crying harder now. Then stop pushing me away, she begged. Let me in. Jiwoo's voice was raw. I don't know how. Then learn, Zara pleaded. Because I'm not going anywhere unless you send me away. Jiwoo crossed the room in 3 long strides and pulled her into his arms. He was sorry. So sorry. He loved her. God, he loved her so much. Zara told him to say it again. I love you, Zara Williams. Again. He kissed her between each word. I love you. They kissed desperately, healing the wounds they'd inflicted on each other, rebuilding what had nearly broken. But their peace was short-lived. Because love doesn't conquer all, not in the Mafia world. And the Parks were just getting started. Zara's brother, FBI agent Marcus Williams, arrived in Seoul the next day. The confrontation in Jiwoo's safe house was tense. Marcus couldn't believe his little sister was in love with a criminal. Zara fired back that Jiwoo was more than his worst actions. Marcus pointed out that Jiwoo had killed people. Zara didn't deny it. She said he'd done what he had to do to protect his family, his people. Marcus didn't know him the way she did. Marcus asked if she really knew him after just 3 months. Zara's response was simple and certain, yes. She did. Jiwoo entered, and the 2 men sized each other up. The testosterone in the room was suffocating. Zara ordered both of them to sit. Now. And shockingly, they obeyed. She laid out a plan. The Parks had tried to kill Jiwoo. They were trafficking weapons, drugs, and people. If Marcus wanted to take down real criminals, she said, focus on the actual monsters. Marcus asked what Jiwoo got out of cooperation. Jiwoo's answer was immediate, a clean slate, immunity, and Zara's safety. Marcus couldn't believe it. Jiwoo would give up his entire empire? Jiwoo looked at Zara as he answered. He'd give up anything for her. Marcus studied them both, then sighed heavily. Fine. He'd work with them. But if Jiwoo hurt Zara? Jiwoo finished the thought. Marcus would kill him. Understood. But Marcus shook his head. No. Zara would kill him. Marcus would just help hide the body. Zara actually laughed, the tension breaking. She told them she loved them both. Now let's take down these bastards. The plan was dangerous. Zara would wear a wire and meet with So-yeon, pretending she wanted to make a deal. The Parks thought she was just a gold digger who could be bought. The meeting took place in an abandoned warehouse. So-yeon was waiting, smug and beautiful. She seemed pleased that Zara had come. Zara played her part, saying she was tired of looking over her shoulder. So-yeon had promised to leave Jiwoo alone if Zara walked away. So-yeon's smile turned cruel. She admitted she'd lied. Suddenly, guns were pointed at Zara from all directions. But instead of fear, Zara smiled. So did I, she said calmly. Jiwoo's men burst in from every entrance. FBI agents swarmed the warehouse. It was a coordinated raid, perfectly executed. In the chaos, Young-hoon grabbed Zara from behind, pressing a gun to her head. He screamed for everyone to freeze or she'd die. Jiwoo immediately dropped his weapon, his hands up. His voice was steady but his eyes were wild. Okay. Just don't hurt her. Zara looked at Jiwoo and said his name calmly. When he responded, she asked if he remembered when she told him about her 3 older brothers. He said yes, confused about the timing. Zara grinned. They taught me this. She slammed her head backward into Young-hoon's face, spun out of his grip, and kicked the gun from his hand in one fluid motion. Marcus tackled Young-hoon before he could recover. Zara rubbed her head, wincing. That looked easier in movies, she muttered. Jiwoo pulled her into his arms immediately, checking her over frantically, asking if she was insane. Zara pointed out he was welcome. Again. Ji-woo kissed her hard. She was going to give him a heart attack. Zara quipped that a heart attack was better than a bullet. 6 months later, everything had changed. The Parks went to prison on charges ranging from attempted murder to human trafficking. Ji-woo cooperated fully with the FBI, providing evidence that took down 3 other crime syndicates. He dismantled the criminal parts of his empire and went legitimate. Mostly legitimate, anyway. Zara now ran a cultural center in Seoul, teaching Korean to international students and helping immigrants navigate the city. It was fulfilling work that made her heart happy. One afternoon, Ji-woo walked into her classroom carrying coffee. One of her teenage students immediately asked if that was her boyfriend. Zara smiled. Something like that. Ji-woo set down the coffee, kissed the top of her head, and asked if he was still just something like that. Zara asked what else he'd be. That's when Ji-woo pulled out a small box. Zara's eyes went wide. Before she could panic, he clarified. It wasn't an engagement ring. Not yet. It was a promise ring. Inside was a beautiful simple band engraved with their initials. Ji-woo explained that he wasn't asking her to marry him. He was asking her to keep choosing him every day, until one day, maybe she'd let him choose her forever. Zara was crying happy tears as she called him a drama king. Ji-woo pointed out that she loved it. She corrected him, she loved him. She kissed him as her students cheered and whistled. When she pulled back, Zara told him for the record, she'd say yes. Eventually. Ji-woo raised an eyebrow. Eventually? Zara reminded him, he was still earning it, remember? Ji-woo grinned. Challenge accepted. That night in Zara's apartment, they cooked together, bickering about seasoning. Zara insisted Ji-woo was using too much garlic. He argued there was no such thing as too much garlic. Zara pointed out that might be true for Korean food, but this was jollof rice. Sacred territory. Ji-woo seemed touched that she was teaching him to cook her family's food. Zara clarified he was cooking under supervision. Marcus video called right then. When they answered, he immediately told them they were disgustingly cute. Zara thanked him cheerfully. Ji-woo asked if there was a reason for the call. Marcus's news made Zara groan. Their mother wanted to meet Ji-woo. Thanksgiving in Atlanta. It wasn't optional. Ji-woo agreed immediately. He'd be there. Zara tried to warn him. Her family was a lot. Terrifying. Protective. Loud. Ji-woo wrapped his arms around her from behind. Was her family more terrifying than the Korean Mafia? He'd survived organized crime. He could handle the Williams family. Marcus laughed and told them those were famous last words. He'd see them in November. After the call ended, Zara turned in Ji-woo's arms. She asked if he was sure about meeting her family. That was serious. Ji-woo said he'd never been more sure of anything. Zara asked if he was even more sure than when he kissed her back at the wedding. Ji-woo's response made her heart melt. Especially more than the wedding kiss. Why? Zara asked. Because that kiss saved my life, Ji-woo said. But you gave me a reason to live it. Zara's eyes filled with tears as she told him he couldn't say things like that while she was holding a knife. Ji-woo gently took the knife and set it down. Better? Much better, Zara whispered. They kissed, slow and sweet and earned. A kiss that promised forever, even if forever wasn't official yet. The camera would pan out on them in that small kitchen, laughing and cooking and completely in love. Two people from different worlds who found each other in the most impossible way. She'd kissed him to save his life. She stayed to save his soul. And he spent every day proving he was worth saving. And that's how one impulsive kiss changed absolutely everything. Did you love this story? Then hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Would you kiss a stranger to save their life? What should we call this couple? Team Zarawoo? Team Kangare? Drop your ideas below. Subscribe for more dark romance stories that'll have you hooked from the first second. And comment Williams family chaos if you want a part 2 where we see Ji-woo survive Thanksgiving with Zara's family, because honestly, that man has no idea what he's walking into. Until next time, keep living for the drama, believing in love, and remembering that sometimes the craziest decisions make the best stories. I'll see you in the next one.